They can't stop winning. I don't know what is happening right now, but the Arizona Diamondbacks. What?
They have to. They have
to. They have to win. They have to win, of course, and they are doing that right now. Welcome in to another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast. My name is Derek Montilla, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX. This man next to me is the father. He's the overlord. It's Father Overlord Jacob himself, the giant, of course, of PHNX. And we are here tonight talking about an Arizona Diamondbacks victory over the Pittsburgh Pirates. Diamondbacks win by a score of 9-5. They take yet another series victory. This is their fourth straight series win. And the Diamondbacks have now won or split their last 8 series, going 7-0-1 and 14 of their last 16 overall since May 30th, going 11-2-3 in those series. The Diamondbacks are 30-18 since June 1st. And let's just remember that this team is doing all of this without Merrill Kelly and without Eduardo Rodriguez. And again, we have no idea what the future holds for those two gentlemen and how they're going to impact the starting rotation. But Jacob, this team is on a roll, and they aren't even doing it with all of their weapons yet.
No, I mean, it's been super fun to watch. Like, I can't help but think back to maybe early May, middle of May, when everybody was just like, panic button. They're not good. They stink. They're terrible.
Right.
Guys, these things happen. They still made the playoffs, and considering how bad they were in August of last year, like, it just give it a second. It was going to work. It was always going to work. And now we're seeing that. It works. Shockingly.
Well, it's the thing I think that frustrated a lot of people, and it's something that we talked about time and time again, was that they were missing, vital pieces, but the team was still being competitive. They were just making mistakes. And today they still made their fair share of mistakes, but the offense was just out of control today for this team. The Diamondbacks, again, the D in D-back stands for dinger. Snakes get one early in the first after Ketel walks and eventually comes home on a Christian Walker RBI single. Meanwhile, O'Neal Cruz hit a Brandon Pfaadt pitch so far that this is going to sound like hyperbole. Jacob, I just sat and waited to see where it came down. Like, you and I watched the home run derby in Texas, and there were a couple of times where balls were hit so far that they just kind of got out of your eye range, out of your eyesight, like no matter how high you looked up. And then you kind of had to just kind of look at a section knowing it was going to come down somewhere there and you were going to see it fall. That O'Neal Cruz 472-foot monster home run was, I thought it was going to dent the truck again. I thought it was going to hit that what was it? The lineup board out there. That thing was a monster. And of course, yikes, that wasn't great. But of course, luckily the Diamondbacks offense came right back and hit a couple of homers of their own in the next inning. Corbin Carroll hits a leadoff home run, his 7th of the year, followed up by a Jerry P. Walk and a Ketel Marte 2-run home run, his 23rd of the season. And the boys are buzzing. The boys are buzzing, Jacob. Yeah. The guys that again, that won, not Ketel Marte, but this game was one of those things where even though Corbin and Ketel hit home runs, and we will absolutely get to Jake here in a moment, there were once again contributions from all over the lineup. And this is what this team was built to do, this exact thing.
I was actually crunching some of the numbers about Corbin, and I'm
going to need you to get a little bit more amped than that. I know you are whispering because there are people sleeping in your household.
I know. I'm talking. No, I was crunching some numbers for Corbin, and it's like, considering how bad everything has been, the fact that he could still end up with double-digit homers and 30-plus steals is absolute insanity. Like, considering where we've come from, the pop is back. He's still not consistently getting on base, but the pop is certainly back. I mean, we've seen it since the game before the All-Star break when he hit 2 homers. Like, he's starting to drive the ball with some authority. I mean, his triple last night, his homer tonight, like, he's showing flashes of being Corbin again. Like,
he is hitting the ball angrily.
Yes.
He is, I think there's still a lot of frustration there, but now he's dialed in. and he is punishing the baseball at times in batting practice and tonight with that leadoff home run. But, again, this is the Diamondbacks have hit 2 home runs in an inning 15 times this season. So the power has been there for this team. It's just always different guys doing it. And tonight was one of those nights where different guys were doing it. When you talk about different guys, maybe Jake McCarthy shouldn't be called a different guy because he's been doing it all season long. But tonight, Jake McCarthy could not be stopped. McCarthy could not be contained. No. He was 5 for 5, which is a career high in hits for Jake. He singled in every single at bat, not to take anything away from him, but he did what he did. He raked. It was Rake McCarthy tonight. He is the first Arizona Diamondback to collect 5 hits or more in a game since David Peralta did it, gross, on April 22nd, 2021. Jacob, that's a very long time since the Arizona Diamondbacks have had a player get 5 hits in a game.
Yeah, I mean, Jake McCarthy he's just a really tough person to get out. Like he's got burner speed, right? So like even those first 2 hits, and that's to O'Neal Cruz. Like any other shortstop probably doesn't even make that close to being a play. O'Neal Cruz, he made it close.
Yeah. He did.
But like, that's such a weapon that this team flaunts all the time, is that they can have, like, it doesn't matter where it is. A guy's always got a chance to beat it out, right? Whether it's Jerry, whether it's Jake, whether it's Alec, whether it's Corbin, whether it's, you know what I mean? Like it's just such a weapon to have. And so I don't know if I've seen a time that this team has had more depth than we currently have, especially in the outfield. I mean, just on any given night, you've got Jock, you've got Grichuk, you've got Jake, you've got Alec, you've got Lourdes, you've got Corbin. That's just the outfield.
Yeah.
Derek, that's just the outfield.
I know.
It's crazy.
It's wild. Diamondbacks now 5 games above 500. We know they haven't been that because they weren't 4 games above 500 at any point this season. So you know what that means. Let's play. I mean, this
in the chat, this is not a toupee. This is like
they're going at you.
This is fully real hair. I have just a lot of it right now.
As a man, trust me, I spent a lot of time with Jacob over the last 2 weeks. Him and Jesse both have pretty thick, luxurious hair compared to what this guy has going on under here. Let's not even talk about this. All right. So anyway, great night here at the ballpark. Obviously, we know it was this night, the Hall of Fame ceremony. It was great to see, Luis Gonzalez and Randy Johnson. Like, it's almost like they are our legends and we know it. And it's just kind of like, yeah, right. Like that's Randy Johnson, Luis Gonzalez. It's like people that don't even live in Arizona know that those are Arizona sports legends. When we were in Chicago, we got to talk to people and those names got brought up in our little video vlog that we did. And just asking, Cubs fans who their favorite players were. It was these 2 guys, and obviously Mark Grace got brought up quite a bit too. But
they're hard to dislike. They're hard to dislike.
They're hard to dislike, right? But not only that, but it's also like not just an Arizona sports legend that these guys beat the Yankees in the World Series and brought, the trophy to the desert. Other like sports fans everywhere know the legend of what the Diamondbacks did in 2001. I think it's just like hard sometimes to really remember, how good they were. And the Diamondbacks did an excellent job tonight of putting together a video package that illustrated just how good Randy Johnson is. Like when you sit there and you hear what he did in his time as a Diamondback, when you hear what Luis Gonzalez did in his time as a Diamondback, like it's hard not to just kind of be in awe of it, comparing it to modern day numbers, because neither pitchers nor hitters really do the things that either of these guys did. And they just kind of did it regularly when they were members of this franchise. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think it was pretty disrespectful. I'm pretty sure there was a recent list that came out of like the top 100 athletes of all time. And to not put Randy Johnson somewhere on that list.
Right.
Name me, other than maybe Nolan Ryan, name me the most feared pitcher in baseball history. Like legitimately feared. And I'm not talking like Bob Gibson, who was good. I'm not talking like, like there's
Yeah,
like a ton of guys are
like
like good,
terrifying
but like
to
Randy
stand in the
Johnson
batter's box
stood on the
against.
mound and
Yeah.
literally made people like want to piss themselves. Like,
Right. Well, and again, being in Chicago, right, we had a chance to like walk down a lot of see a lot of history for that franchise, for that building, right? And it's like we don't have that history here. We have not been around that long, but these guys are the guys if you're going to start a Diamondbacks Hall of Fame to start it with. And
sure.
it was an amazing night in the ballpark, and the Diamondbacks very much felt like they had a little extra, I guess pep in their step, if you will, when they were out there. I mean, Brandon Pfaadt didn't have his best stuff tonight, but after he gave up that home run to O'Neal Cruz in the first inning, Pfaadt was fantastic for a considerable portion of this game. He did not allow another hit again until the fifth inning, and then things unraveled for him a bit. And we've talked about this. This was kind of a classic bad Brandon Pfaadt start where he's still gonna somehow dial in during a portion of the game and
Sure.
just cruise through most of it, and then have an inning where things kind of go bad for him, and he's still able to rebound, but he got knocked around a bit there in the fifth inning.
Yeah, I thought it was a
And he had
little
some
bit.
bad
Yeah,
defense behind him too.
I thought I was gonna say I thought it was a little bit different than his like because usually like those innings just start with like walk, walk, walk. Like he
Yeah,
cruises and then it's like oh boom, he just can't find the zone, right? Like
right,
what are we doing?
right.
So it's like
But Lourdes
it was
Gurriel
it's
missed
like
a
I was
play
gonna
that
say
he should have
he
made
missed
there
a
in the
play.
outfield.
There was an infield single. Like he just kind of got knocked around. It was just I think I said in the Discord, it's just bad baseball luck. And like
Yeah,
sometimes that happens. And I said like everybody's due for a clunker from time to time. It's just you shrug it off. He had 6 innings, 5 runs. He put him in he gave him a chance to win.
exactly.
That's all it
Yeah,
gave him a
and they
chance
did.
to win.
And they did. He 6 innings, like you said, 7 hits allowed, 5 earned runs. 4 of those hits and 3 of those earned runs all happened in the fifth inning. And yeah, that fifth inning, I mean, again, Gurriel missed a play that he probably should have made. There were a couple of missed defensive plays, and sometimes it's weird because these guys are so athletic and they do such a good job. Like Jake McCarthy missed a play in the outfield in center field that he got his glove on the ball and he was so close to making an excellent catch there. But again, it's like it's the athleticism that puts them in the position to even make that play in the first place. Lourdes looked like he got a little bit of a bad read on that particular ball that he missed, but still,
Yeah. We talk about Lourdes's defense.
what's up?
We talk about Lourdes's defense a lot, and it's like, oh, he makes these catches. You never think you'd get to these balls. A lot of the times, I think it's a lot like what David Peralta did when he won a Gold Glove, which was like he might take a bad route to a ball, but he can kind of make up with it with like some athleticism.
Yeah,
So it doesn't shock me if every once in a while he's going to, take a bad route to a ball and maybe clank one. But he's been pretty solid all year, so.
I've been known to say that he plays it like a baby giraffe out there is what he looks like. And maybe that's a bit of an insult, but I think the comparison there is like when you see like a colt, like a baby horse that is like super athletic and is going to run and it's going to be amazing, but they just still don't have it like all quite figured out yet. Like Lourdes is big and he's fast and he can get to balls, but at times he just seems to like not really know the route 100% or like which direction, whether he needs to go to like his right or his left to kind of make the play. In some cases, it looks like it's more of a routine play than he made it look. And other times he makes some pretty incredible defensive plays out there. And it's because of his ability to get to the ball. I think that like, again, it's so much easier for me to sit with my chubby little belly in this chair and say these things about him versus being out there trying to catch fly balls in an actual major league game. But I think it's the fact, once again, it's the fact that he can get there and he's so close to making it, but then he looks like he's a little turned around, and maybe if he would have went this way instead of that way, he would have been able to make that play. But the offense, again, did enough tonight that they picked up Brandon Pfaadt and the 5 earned runs that he gave up. And the bullpen. Let's talk about the bullpen.
Who do you want, Derek?
These guys are
just take your pick.
These guys are stone cold. It's stone cold killers, is what it is. You don't want any of them. You don't want none of this smoke. Even Bryce Jarvis is going out there in the 9th inning and giving you 1 inning, hit.
Jesse likes to tell me that Bryce Jarvis is bad. Don't listen to Jesse.
No,
Don't listen to
I think
Jesse.
I think Bryce Jarvis is misused. I think if Bryce Jarvis was on a team, he would have a role. And I think if he had a role, he would be better at it. Because you and I spoke to him in Chicago. And despite the fact that he says he does kind of get used, again, like this, right? Like where all of a sudden he's brought in the ninth inning to close the game out. And it wasn't a save situation. It wasn't a close game, but it's still a high leverage situation considering it's the ninth inning.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Jarvis is, let me look at it. I think he's like 27 or 26. He might be 26. He's 26 years old. He turns 27 this year. I mean, he's still young. Like, this organization has been known to keep kids in the minors for a long time, right? Like Paul Goldschmidt didn't make his debut until he was 26. I mean, like this is like what they've been doing under Mike Hazen, where they have the proper talent to be able to inject this, like they make moves for AJ Puk, for example. Like they'll make a move over there, but like the fact that they've been able to even add to this team at all from the minor league system is something that like I can't even fathom. And I've watched this team since I was a little boy. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's been really cool to see. And so like Bryce Jarvis is one of those guys. He was a first round draft pick. Like he just give him some time and he's looked better too. Like he started a little shit and he's shaky from time to time, but like over the last month or so, I mean, I don't know how often I've been stressed watching him pitch.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I don't know how often we're going to be stressed seeing AJ Puk pitch because this guy seems incredible. He made his debut for the Diamondbacks tonight. Again, another very, very tall pitcher for the Diamondbacks making his debut on a night while other very, very tall pitcher was getting honored pregame. But we did talk to AJ Puk before the game, and this is what he had to say about joining this Arizona Diamondbacks team.
How does it feel to be here? It's great, especially coming to the position that they're in right now. And I'm coming off the World Series run last year. I'm just hoping I can come in here, contribute, and win some ball games.
What was your kind of reaction when you got the news?
I kind of had a little feeling something was going on because I was expecting to pitch that game, and they shied away from me, so I was kind of on edge about something might go down. And I was just real excited, and just knowing it's a great organization, and they're winning games right now. It's always fun to win, and I'm just real pumped for it.
Did you get this?
Say it again?
Did you get this?
No. They stayed away from me. I was kind of thinking, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have this inning, and they didn't. So I was like, oh, something might be going on. Yeah, I thought so. So I was like, oh, something might be going on, and like after the flight, got traded. So.
Do you have any relationship with anybody on this team that you prior to this?
Yeah, no, it's fresh team. I didn't know anybody, so I mean, it's pretty. I mean, that's cool. I mean, meet a bunch of new guys. Everyone's been real, welcoming so far, and it seems like a really good fit.
With the trade deadline coming up, did you have an inkling that you would be moved this year?
I had a little idea. Just the way I kind of been throwing the ball since I moved back to the bullpen, and just kind of seeing where the Marlins are kind of going up and shaking up things right now. So I kind of had an idea. So yeah.
What have your first interactions been like with Torres and other teammates?
Oh yeah, no, it's been great. I said everyone's been welcoming, and it's kind of overwhelming meeting everybody's name, trying to remember everybody's name. But it's been great. Just kind of my first impression, just seeing the training room and weight room, all that stuff. It's pretty cool.
I think I saw you got to pitch your first postseason inning last year. What was that experience like? And kind of cool to maybe be in a position to do that.
It was great. Up in Philly, those fans are pretty wild up there. So I mean, it's really a fun atmosphere for sure. And it just feels good to make the playoffs. And that's what I'm looking forward to doing here.
I think I saw you changed from using your sweeper to using your slider a few weeks ago. Has that been kind of a key part of your success here with these last games?
Yeah, for sure. I just think my sweeper is kind of getting too big, and the hitters are picking up on it, and wasn't as hard, so it's easy for them to sit back. And ever since I went back to the harder slider, it kind of just stays on my four seam plane a little bit better and just gives them a better look.
How do you see?
You hear that, Jacob? His sweeper wasn't working, so he went to a slider. They're two different pitches just to end that argument. But yes, AJ Puk was phenomenal tonight for the Diamondbacks. 1 inning pitched. He had a walk, 1 strikeout, looked dominant, looked scary, looked exactly like the kind of guy you want on your side. Justin
Yeah.
Martinez also was very icy tonight. He did the blowing his hand thing as he walked off the mound. That man is on, like, he's not even evolved to his final form yet. He's not even there yet, and he already knows how good he is. Like, this bullpen, Jacob, is going to be a problem for opposing teams.
I mean, like I said, pick your pick. Who do you want? I mean, like,
With the whispering.
I'm not whispering. That's whisper. I'm talking. This is a talk.
This is a talk.
I'm getting roasted in the chat, by the way. This whole chat, the chat is derailed. They can't stop talking about my hair. My wife said it's a wig. I'm in trouble, Derek. I'm in trouble.
Yeah, I know. It's the jig might be up. We might have to tell them the truth about your head. I don't know. Like, they might have finally figured it out, but they are getting an ASMR stream for free. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, here, what else do we want to just, like? I've got a couple things.
I have a giant baseball mitt here that I can kind of, we can like rub the leather together. Anyway, no, this is bad for business, but what's good for business is the Diamondbacks continuing to win, Jacob. This team is just so much fun to watch right now. And I mean, like, again, it's not even whole, and that makes it even more fun, right? Like, you can sit back. We know Mike Hazen made his comments to Jesse about them not really being done yet here at the trade deadline. That's exciting. But even if they don't make any other moves, it's like the Diamondbacks came in here. This is a Pirates team that had the third best ERA in starting, for starting pitching in all of baseball. And tonight they didn't look like it. Obviously, in the first game of the series, they had to kind of wait and get to the bullpen there a little bit. But this has been, an impressive feat that the Diamondbacks have put together here, and they can go for a sweep tomorrow, which we know they'll probably not get done because
they're so allergic. They're so
they don't
allergic to that word.
teams, and that's fine. But hey, you know what? That's fine because they don't have to sweep teams. They just have to win series, and that's what they've done. They have won a lot of series. You can pull your hair back all you want. The people aren't going to believe you. It's like I said, the jig is up now. But of course, we thank them for all of their accusations against you and everything else. We thank you guys very much for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to do so now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever our shows go live. Of course, hit that like button. There's a lot of you in here. There should be a lot of likes. We love it when you like it. We also love it when you subscribe on the audio side of things. Subscribe on your favorite audio podcast. Make sure to leave us a review. We appreciate it greatly when you do that as well. Of course, we also love it when you check out our friends from Four Peaks, because Four Peaks is the finest beer you can find in the state of Arizona. They are our brand, and they are Arizona's hometown brewery. Right now, you can check out, of course, all the wonderful beers they have to offer. You can get them at your local grocery store. You can go check out Four Peaks in person and eat them chicken tendies and check out the wide variety of beers that they have on tap. And have a wonderful afternoon. Most importantly, make sure, if you have not done so already, you try the Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale, which is an amazing collaboration between Four Peaks and Bad Birdie, and it is one of the best beers they've ever created. So visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events. Check out at Four Peaks Brew at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest in Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly. Bet365 is here, and of course, Jacob and I know about the live betting, in-game betting across the 78 sports that Bet365 is all about. Bet365 is all about, of course, the live in-game betting, and that is, it's sincerely a very exciting way to watch sports, and also just make yourself a little coin. You can also become a winner with their Bet365 baseball early payout offer, which right now you're a winner if your team goes ahead by 5 runs with an instant payout. Parlay and same game parlay selections will be marked as winners. Of course, right now you can choose a new offer as a new customer. If you are signing up at Bet365, use our bonus code of PHNX365. Deposit $10 and choose either between a bet and get offer, where you can place a $5 or more bet and get $150 in bonus bets, or a first bet safety net offer, where you can place up to a $1,000 bet, and if your qualifying bet loses, you will receive a matched refund in bonus bets. Download the Bet365 app now and use code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and over and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text Next Step to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov. All right, well, let's take a look at the count because baseball is weird. And thanks to Desert Financial Credit Union, we know these numbers are accurate. But the Diamondbacks here outscore the Pirates 9-5 in this game. They out-hit the Pirates 13-8. Diamondbacks had lots of opportunities with runners in scoring position. They go 5 for 15, while the Pirates just went 2 for 4. 3 for 3 on extra base hits for both teams, which is funny. Of course, O'Neal Cruz had 2 of those extra base hits with his triple and his home run for the Pirates. Meanwhile, the Diamondbacks got 2 dingers, of course, from Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte, and then Jock Peterson with his first pinch hit triple that scored 2 runs and helped the Diamondbacks secure this victory. Of course, hard hit percentage looks like this because baseball is baseball. 40.7% hard hit percentage for the Pirates to Diamondbacks, 35.5%. But yes, there is some talk about Suarez braiding his hair in the chat, and now he's hot. Maybe Corbin can do the same. Corbin's hair, by the way, is deceptively long. What's that?
Should he get the Padawan Anakin braid?
No, he absolutely should not do that, Jacob. That's a terrible idea. I
think it's a phenomenal idea.
I think that Corbin is just jealous of Jake McCarthy's flow, and he's trying to get his flow to be somewhat in order and somewhat close to Jake McCarthy's flow. But nobody has flow like Jake McCarthy, and tonight that man is our king snake because Jake McCarthy has a career high 5 hits tonight, going 5 for 5, 1 run scored, 1 RBI, 1 stolen base, and just one amazing baseball player. This is a man that is vastly underrated, and I'm sure he's not. I bet Jake McCarthy is actually quite accurately rated by a lot of teams that would love it if the Diamondbacks went to make him available on the trade market, but that would be just a huge mistake because of what this man is doing for this team. And again, like you said, it's the depth that Jake McCarthy provides to the Diamondbacks. Like there is an argument to be made that Jake McCarthy should be their everyday starting outfielder in right field or in some way, you know. But again, how do you find all of these outfielders time?
Yeah.
How do you find Randall Grichuk time? What do you do with Corbin Carroll? Corbin Carroll, again, I'm slandering Corbin Carroll's name, I feel like, here on a night where he went yard, and I probably shouldn't be doing that. But I mean, again, Jake McCarthy, 5 for 5.
No, I mean, and Jesse mentioned this to you and I. It's a pretty rare instance. Like, that doesn't happen all that often. Like, 5 for 5 is super impressive. And it's just, it speaks volumes about where this team is at in comparison to 2 or 3 years ago. Like, if you would have told me in 2021 that all of this would have been worth it, all of the build up to this, like keeping Torrey, keeping Hazen through the shit, right? Like,
yeah, through the dark times.
To tell me that this is
the second worst season in team history.
Yeah, it's impressive, and you know, like, it's just a night like this that it just proves like that's a guy that plays once every 2 or 3 days. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't play every day, and for him to come off the bench and net 5 hits. It's awesome. I still don't think you can bench Corbin for him. I really don't. I don't know if I'll ever be in that boat unless this continues, you know. Corbin.
We just talked about this yesterday. We were saying, like, they all have their strengths out there, and sometimes you're going to get guys like Corbin Carroll that, like, honestly, they give you what they gave you last season, and then the bar gets set very high. And again, anything less than what Corbin Carroll did last year is going to seem as, you know, somewhat of a disappointment. The man won Rookie of the Year. Like, it's hard to have a season like a Rookie of the Year caliber season every season of your career, right? Yeah. I think that, you know, again, he struggled a lot early on, and it's hard for him statistically
to make a recovery,
right? But if you look at Corbin's numbers over the last 2 months, his numbers have been great. It's just Jake McCarthy. Jake McCarthy's numbers have been outstanding all season long. It's his best year of his career, and he's doing it in a role where he is, you know, getting limited playing time and delivering when asked to come into the game. And, you also said it earlier about like the threat to steal, right? Jake has the stolen base tonight, and like there's just something that makes the opposition uneasy when Corbin Carroll gets on base and Jake McCarthy gets on base and, Geraldo Perdomo gets on base. Like there's something about these guys that impact, obviously the game in a bigger way just by their presence on the base path. And that's what, that's that chaos, right? The chaos wasn't always necessarily just stolen bases. It was the, extending, turning a single into a double in any way, whether it's through a stolen base, whether it's running fast and, basically using your legs to make a play that you shouldn't get a double on into a double. Like there were a lot of things about this team last year that was, a part of their DNA that we're seeing again. And again, great night from Jake getting on base as often as he did and just impacting the game. 5 for 5 night, career night. It's great. I don't care. I don't care that it's 5 singles one bit. I mean, yeah, some of them were softly hit, but still Jake's ability to get on base can change a ball game. This one wasn't very close, but if it was, he would have been a big reason why the Diamondbacks, if they could hold on in a close game like this.
Yeah, I mean, like it goes to show that they'll beat you anyway. Like just, like they can outslug you, they can outpitch you, they can out bullpen you, they can outrun you, they can out defend you, whatever it is, give them a shot. They'll figure out a way to beat you. Like this team is built for the playoffs, Derek. And now obviously the hole that they dug themselves at the beginning of the season, it's an uphill battle to get there. Correct? Like they're built for the playoffs. Like it's just like they can beat you in so many different ways. And that's how you win playoff games. Right? Yeah. Like, I mean, it's like you take bases, you do things the right way. Talk about Geraldo Perdomo. Like he just always seems to make the right play, right? Like you need a sac fly, he comes through. You need a bunt, he comes through. You need somebody to get a big hit in a big spot, he comes through. And that's just Geraldo Perdomo. Ketel Marte right now, it doesn't matter who's pitching. He might freaking send Randy Johnson to the moon if he's hitting right-handed. Like I just don't know like where the weak spot is. Like give me one spot on this team when Merrill Kelly and Erod come back, because right now I think you could pinpoint maybe still starting pitching. But when Merrill and Erod come back, where's the weakness in this team?
I mean, the weakness is that this team still has the tendency to collectively go quiet offensively. And even though we haven't seen that in a while, that's still something that could rear its head. But that's something that happens to any team, right? That's nothing new. Typically, there are actual reasons you could see, like facing a left-handed starting pitcher or something of the sort, right? Like there's certain nights where the Diamondbacks match up poorly against a pitcher that you wouldn't think that they would, but for some reason they're completely baffled against certain guys.
Derek,
so,
I tried to set you up to just stay pumped, and you really just like, here's the earth, and you made me just go.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, it's the hair comments mostly.
That was a bummer. That was a real bummer.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
On a night that they won 9-5, you're like, yeah, their offense stinks.
No, I'm just saying their offense can stink at times inexplicably. It's that's what's maddening about it, is because, again, there's guys on this team, and maybe that's it, right? Like we haven't really seen the offense do that since Geraldo Perdomo and Alek Thomas returned to the lineup. And that's even with Alek Thomas's limited contributions offensively, and Geraldo Perdomo again doing it more just with some great at bats where he doesn't even get on base sometimes, but just sometimes you feel like Perdomo, working a count can get the offense going, right? Yeah. Like there's just things about this team that has the starters, the guys that get the offense going, and it's definitely changed since the Diamondbacks struggled early on in the season, with their offense suddenly going quiet, especially for a stretch.
It seems like it's more fleeting now, I would say, right? Like back at the beginning of the season, they'd score 17 runs in one game. And then like they'd go 3 or 4 games where they got like 1 run in each game, 2 runs, whatever it was, 0 runs. Now it seems like they're consistently approaching the 4, 5, 6 mark, right? Like that'll win you baseball games as long as you have the bullpen that they have, and that gets the job done. And like obviously, I think they really struggle. Elise mentioned this yesterday in the Discord. They really struggle coming off an off day. Like this offense is like almost kind of mind numbing after a day off. And I don't know if it's just like sitting on idle hands, right? You know how it goes?
Yeah.
Like all the bats are hot, you sit for a day, and all of a sudden it's like, we're just getting the cobwebs out. And it's like, don't do that to me. Don't do that. But they've been more consistent, I would say. Like it's I mean, you don't go 30-18 over a 48 game stretch and not have a strictly more consistent offensive approach.
This is a good question from WX Devil. Asks, Suarez consistency is still a big question. Was the start of the season anomaly, or is his current hot streak basically the anomaly? Right?
Yeah. I
don't know.
Do I raise you Lourdes Gurriel Jr.? Like, there are guys like that. Suarez is traditionally a second half player, from what I've seen. So honestly, we could be in the middle of that right now.
And that's the guy. That's what we need right now. I mean, obviously, look, you change environments like Suarez did from someplace where he was probably very comfortable and that he loved to play. Comes here to Arizona. It didn't seem to take him long to fit in. He felt like he was a match in the locker room, just like Eduardo Rodriguez was, to those of you that still might not believe that man exists. He was also
he's real. I swear. He's as real as my hair, which I don't know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But again, it's like little things like when Eduardo Rodriguez brought in like a really cool domino table, with like the partitions for you to put your dominoes in and stuff, and kind of had it over there in the clubhouse at Salt River Fields, right? You're like, that's a man that's quiet, like trying to make friends with his teammates fast. Like he's trying to kind of bond. And that seems like a good dude. Like, some guys, when they come into the clubhouse, especially when they're new players, it takes a while for them to kind of fit in. But Gino, there was a lot of pressure there again on a lot of these guys because everybody was kind of struggling. So I felt like everyone, was stacking the pressure on top of themselves to try to be the guy to get them out of the offensive inconsistencies that they had. I think that maybe his hot streak right now might be a little bit hotter than he's going to play over an extended period of time.
Everything regresses to a mean.
It does, but I will say that the way he's playing now feels a lot more, at least with the power, the home runs we've seen him hit. Again, we talk about guys getting the offense started. Gino has been that guy quite often with a solo home run here and there that kind of breaks the dam open for the offense, gets the Diamondbacks on the board, and then you kind of see the team, be able to make some headway. But this team just has a lot of guys that are playing well right now, and even though they might not be putting in the most impressive numbers individually at times, we still have Ketel Marte having an MVP caliber season. We still have Christian Walker doing some big things. Someone in the chat talked about Jock Peterson there. Like Jock Peterson has been an absolute, gem for this team with his contributions this year as a free agent pickup. So you're right. There are not a lot of areas. I mean, that's why when we were talking about the trade for AJ Puck, Jesse and I legitimately have a hard time looking at any of the top 50 candidates and for trades and seeing position players that are true upgrade over what the Diamondbacks have, right? I mean, there's some names out there that have become popular with D-backs fans that we've talked about, and there's a few guys out there that, maybe they could be good for this team, but is the improvement from what the D-backs currently have to one of those guys worth the cost that you're going to have to give up in order to trade for that guy? Like, this isn't free agency. This is literally just going out there and getting, giving up a part of your future, like they did with Davison De Los Santos and Andrew Pintar,
who did homer, by the way, tonight. Davison De Los Santos did homer in
of course he did. That's kind of all he does is he hits home runs. The guy mashes
and chases a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be you're going to have a hard time not regretting Davison De Los Santos going to another organization when you see what he does at a minor league level. I will remain cautiously optimistic about, his chances at a major league level, and of him, being a guy the Diamondbacks regret, but wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised to see him because he could easily be a DH, not have to actually be in the field, and then just become one of the greatest hitters of all time. And we'll all be sad together as a group. But hopefully
if they win a World Series, Derek, I won't be sad. I can't tell you I'd be sad in the slightest.
Like I said, you and I were there at Globe Life Stadium. We talked to a lot of Rangers fans. There was not the attitude of like, oh, hey, we should be like, I can't believe we're not in it and we should be doing more to try to, go back to back. No, those fans are like, no, we got ours. We're good. Like, start building towards the future, I guess. I don't know. Whatever.
They were like, we're champions.
We got our championship.
Sorry.
We met a man that made a crown out of the World Series like, legitimately, these people are just happy with their championship. And I think at this point, considering how deprived the Valley is of championships and how close we've gotten recently with the Suns and last year with the Diamondbacks, just give us one. Just give us one. Let's get one more. Let's just, it'll fuel us maybe for the next 20 plus years. I don't know, Jacob, but of course, if you need to fuel yourself right now, and you're thirsty, Circle K is the place to do that. Of course, Circle K is the America's thirst stop. Right now, get any size Polar Pop or Froster for just 79 cents. And also join the Inner Circle program for free right now by downloading the Circle K app today. If you do, you're going to save even more money than any of this advertised stuff. They're going to give you buy one, get one free stuff. They're just going to give you free stuff in the app because that's how Circle K rolls. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. But when you do, you will save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. And Circle K gas is already cheap. So get it in your car. Get yourself a Polar Pop. Get yourself a Froster for just 79 cents. And, again, stay hydrated out there. I'm going to tell Jesse that when he gets on here. I know he hasn't been drinking enough water, and I know for sure that the sun tried to kill him today. So I want to make sure he stays hydrated. Speaking of the sun trying to kill you, that's I know it's a life-giving star, I guess you could say, but it's also trying to murder us. So make sure you protect your eyes as much as you can, especially living here in the Valley, with a fantastic pair of sunglasses from our friends at Shady Rays. And when I say fantastic pair, I mean 5 stars, rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. They are quality optics, crystal clear optics, hundreds of styles to choose from, quality sunglasses that aren't going to cost you nearly as much as comparable sunglasses, not to mention the fact that they have the best replacement plan in all of eyewear. They told us that if you lose or break your Shady Rays, even on day one, they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Jesse asks so many questions, so many. And see, Jacob's laughing because he spent 9 days in a hotel room with him, and he knows how many questions he asks. Shady Rays, meanwhile, will not ask you any questions about your broken or replacement sunglasses. And also, if you don't love your shades, you can exchange them for a new pair or get your money back worry-free within 30 days. No risk at all when you shop online. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 35% off a pair of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
Apparently, apparently I need glasses now too. It's not just the hair. Somebody said I looked like, is his name Huey or Dewey in the Benchwarmers? He's the one who's afraid of the sun. It got worse, Derek. It got worse.
It might be pretty accurate. Get yourself off screen. Like, this isn't just take the L tonight, Jacob. And I don't mean the train. I mean take the actual L between your hair and your Benchwarmer face. Get Jesse Friedman in here. He's the one that people want to see. There he is. Thunderstick, my vice mayor, your Thunderstick, Jesse Friedman. Jesse, the offense cannot be stopped tonight. Jake McCarthy could not be stopped tonight. 5 for 5. First time in his career high 5 hits. And again, he's been having an incredible season, but this is what he's been doing all year. I mean, maybe not going 5 for 5 in a night, but Jake McCarthy has been Rake McCarthy.
Yeah, this is impressive. I mean, any time you get 5 hits in a game, right? Like, it's a combination of very good hitting and probably a little bit of luck at the same time, right? Like, that's just kind of the way that baseball works. We saw, a number of line drives that are 100 and whatever off the bat and they get caught. It's just the nature of this game. It's hard to get 5 balls to drop in for you in one game. But Jake was able to do that today, and he continues to show that he is a much, much improved player from a year ago. I know a lot of people have been a little bit frustrated with the playing time situation there and how he's still been kind of thrust in a part-time role, given all the outfielders that the Diamondbacks have. I mean, it's going to be, pretty tough for Torrey to not have him in the lineup if he keeps doing things like he did today. So, just an incredible day for Jake. And we got to talk with Jake a few minutes ago in the clubhouse. So here's what Jake McCarthy had to say about just kind of the Diamondbacks as a whole and how well they're playing lately, as well as his 5 hits in this game.
I think, when maybe our hitting isn't there, our pitching picks us up and vice versa. It just seems like we're all picking each other up. It's timely hitting. It's, really good bullpen appearances. So, I just think it's well-rounded, and I think when maybe one of us has an off night, someone picks us up. So I think that's a sign of a good team.
It's got to feel pretty good to have 5 hits in the game, I imagine.
Yeah, it's nice when they fall and then the ground balls go through and then the pop-ups drop in front of the center fielder. So, it's nice.
Torrey said that guys were maybe giving you a hard time when you got after the 5th one. It's kind of
yeah, man, hit's a hit. I never really I don't light up the exit velo too much. So it hit's a hit. I'll take it. I'll tell everyone all 5 balls were crushed. So, yeah.
Oh no, his hair. The chat, Jesse, has been writing Jacob all night about his hair being a toupee / hairpiece, which Jacob had to several times demonstrate was not. But Jake McCarthy is not doing anything to help Jacob with his glorious, luxurious hair as he gently moves part of it out of his face, and it just stays in a perfect coif. Sorry, I was lost in his hair. I couldn't hear anything he said. But no, yes, a 5-hit night is a 5-hit night, even if your teammates want to razz you about those balls falling softly in front of an outfielder.
Yeah, there was also, I know yesterday we had a pretty funny moment post game where, there was a mix up on where the reporters were going, and we entered the interview room and Torey Lovullo was already there in the second row with the notepad. It was pretty funny. But today, Derek, we were treated with another pretty funny moment from post game. Gino Suarez, of course, sort of the Energizer Bunny inside that clubhouse, or at least one of them. He came over and paid Jake McCarthy a visit during our interview with Jake, and it did not end particularly well. Let's go ahead and roll that one.
Oh,
it's nice when, you get back to the dugout and Marty. Did it break? No, we got 2 more. We got 2 more. I'm sorry. What was the question?
What did he break?
Yeah, so there were some bottles of various beverages in the vicinity, and one of them fell and was basically just pouring out all over the place. And you could hear Christian Walker in the background being like, "No, that's a rare vintage. Like, this is a tragedy."
It's the bourbons. It's the bourbons. No. I thought it was a Coke or something, Jesse. You should have let off with it being liquor. Oh no.
Jake himself didn't seem too concerned about it. He didn't seem all that interested in consuming.
He doesn't know. The expert down there, right. That Christian Walker knew exactly how much, because that man demands that you bring him his finest meats and cheeses and bourbons, and he knows how much they're worth. He has a cocktail bar in his locker. Man. Oh,
yeah, that was pretty funny. It was just like you could hear, you could maybe hear one thing, but it was multiple things. Like Jake had this, I think it was this little tabletop kind of right next to his right next to his locker. And Gino, when he
plays too much. Gino be playing too much, coming over to tussle his hair. He's knocking over expensive bottles of liquor. We all have a friend like that, Jesse. Hilarious. We all have a friend like that. And I'm that friend. It's me. I'm the one that plays too much and knocks over stuff and breaks it. What else you got from the clubhouse?
Yeah, speaking on Jake, we have Torrey talking about Jake's 5-hit game and kind of what he's meant to this team this year.
Well, he's been really consistent all year long. It's been that type of a year for him where he is toggling between, approaches, and he's hitting in counts. He understands what the at-bat's asking for. There were 2 infield base hits today. because the defense has to position itself accordingly with a third baseman in. So he's having a terrific year. It's fun for us to watch because he's working his butt off, but you don't see him a lot, and he deserved it. I know the last one everybody's giving him a hard time because he blooped it in, but I don't care. A hit's a hit. 5-hit game's a 5-hit game. You don't get him a lot.
Jackson Doran, thank you so much for your super chat. Jackson said, "Oh boy, they let the snakes get hot, boys." And they did, because Jesse, this team is red hot right now. Jake McCarthy is red hot. And they have a chance to sweep the Pirates tomorrow. And then they have an opportunity here to potentially not lose a single series in the month of July, which just, once again, we were talking about the juxtaposition of that from last July and how different of a spot they are, not to mention the fact that the seasons couldn't have been more opposite, where they kind of limped into this portion of their season, and they ended up coming out as one of the hottest teams in Major League Baseball, whereas the historic collapse last year in July, caused them to go from being significantly above 500 to below it, and now the Diamondbacks have a chance here to walk out of the month over 5 games plus over 500. And that's impressive considering that they still have Merrill Kelly and Eduardo Rodriguez returning here soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was just kind of throwing it back to, I believe it was June 29th, start of play June 29th, when the Diamondbacks had just lost a heartbreaker to the Oakland A's. It was the first game of that series. They had just lost that series to the Twins as well, and were not playing good baseball. They were 39-43 at the time. And as of that moment, Derek, they were 3.5 games out of a playoff spot, and they were 7 games behind the top wild card team, which was the Atlanta Braves. And since then, obviously, the Diamondbacks have played pretty well. Some of the other wild card contenders have played pretty well also. The Braves, however, have not. And the Diamondbacks in that span have gone from being 7 games out of that top wild card spot to, as of today, they are 1 game behind the top wild card team. The Braves are there and are also tied with the San Diego Padres, who continue to refuse to lose baseball games. They have now won 7 consecutive games. But yeah, this team is just has played so well lately. And it really is impressive that they've managed to go on this kind of a run. I mean, they did get some guys back from injury, like getting Gallen back certainly helps. And, they got Gabby Moreno back at the beginning of this month, Geraldo Perdomo as well. But they've still been without Merrill Kelly and Erod, as you said, and they found a way to go on a really excellent stretch of baseball here, even without those guys.
Piece of Yoshi says, "Derek, this is like the 5th time you've been lost in a player's features. Last time it was Ryan Thompson's eyes. It was never Ryan Thompson's eyes, for the record." I want to say that. Maybe a RKO from Ryan Thompson, or perhaps his attempts to rock bottom me. But if you're talking about a player's features, especially their eyes that I got lost in, it's probably Randall Grichuk would be my assumption. Or if you probably go back a little further, maybe Tucker Barnhart, because his eyes.
Yeah, Tucker Barnhart is probably.
You could get lost in his eyes for days, let's be honest. But you could get lost watching this team for days, Jesse. This team is so much fun to watch right now. The bullpen, of course, we got to see, our guy AJ Puck make his debut today. We already love him. We've already embraced him as our own. The man seems to fit in nicely with the mix, and seems like Torrey has a whole lot of weapons there. And speaking of the weapons, I do want to go back to this Jake McCarthy situation, because let's be honest, Torrey does manage like that, right? Torrey probably will bench Jake tomorrow. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody to see him do that. But at the same time, Torrey does that to all the guys on this team all the time. And the fact that Torrey has the ability now to kind of just set lineups as he sees fit based on certain statistics, certain matchups that he wants to try to exploit, I feel like this team is built perfectly for him, because Torrey is going to fiddle with the lineup. He's going to rest guys. He's always going to manage this way, even when the options aren't great, right? Like, we've seen them have players that probably shouldn't be starting in a Major League Baseball game start, simply because Torrey is committed to giving Gabby Moreno the day off, or Ketel Marte the day off, or whatever. And we've seen that in the past, but now there's not really a lineup that feels like it's a lesser than. It just feels like it's different. And yeah, you're going to be frustrated sometimes, because he is going to set sit guys that are hot, and then the team is probably going to struggle to score, and you're going to shout at the sky and be mad about it. That's just kind of the way Torrey manages, but he also manages this team like it's a marathon and not a sprint. And that is what the baseball season is. We're seeing the positive impacts of him managing the team that way now that he hasn't completely burnt out several guys that he would go to too often early in the season in order to try to secure those wins.
Yeah, I mean, as we talked about yesterday, everyone on this team has a role, right? And maybe you have a gripe with kind of the distribution of playing time in certain situations. I can understand that, but there's no one on this team that, when they're in there, it truly feels like there's no reason for it, right? I mean, even despite Corbin Carroll's struggles this year, the guy finished 5th in MVP voting last year, right? It's not all that hard to imagine a scenario where Corbin Carroll suddenly gets hot. And you probably don't want to, if he's in the majors, you probably don't want to, just be playing him 2-3 days a week or whatever. You want to make sure that he's able to get those reps in and maybe find his way back to the player that he was last year. And on that note, Derek, Corbin Carroll did hit a home run in this game, his second homer of the season against a lefty, his first that was pulled. We continue to see Corbin pull the ball in the air a little bit more, which I think is a really good sign for him. And yeah, I mean, he had 2 homers in his first 87 games this season. He has 5 homers now in his last 14. So, do I think Corbin is 100% fixed and all the way back to the player he was a year ago? Not necessarily, but he has definitely shown some positive signs here in the last few weeks. And that swing was a really big one for sure.
And I think that's part of it, right? There was a time where every single person, including myself while I was defending him, wanted to give up on Gino, right? And now Gino's hitting the way he is, right? And he's just an example of how guys, can struggle, but they can eventually get back on track. And it's not like Corbin has been struggling consistently. We've said Corbin Carroll is back so many times that it's driven Jesse nuts.
that phrase doesn't mean anything.
It's literally it's just noise to Jesse. That's not a logical sentence anymore because of how often Damon, Dog, and I have said it. But it's because Corbin does go through these spurts where he has 2 or 3 games where you see him hitting the ball hard again, see him getting home runs, and then he'll struggle and he'll go 0 for 5, 1 for 4, 0 for 3 with 2 walks, but at the very least, when you start seeing him put together those walks and then getting a stolen base and doing the things that he does, that's his role, right, Jesse? His role is to get on base somehow, be a disruptor, and try to get the offense going. And lately, he's been able to do that successfully. Just like Gino has been able to get the offense going with his power at times, getting those solo home runs, getting things started. Again, you're not going to see Gino go out there and hit 300, but what you are going to see is him, hit a dinger once every 5 games or so. And it really does feel like at least he's back to kind of contributing in that way. But this team is just looking very good. And again, I'll try not to get too excited, but that's impossible for me. It's just, Jacob was revving me up over here talking about this team having no weaknesses. I can't really argue with him with the way that they've played in the last 2 months. Going back to what we said at the top of the show, the Diamondbacks dating back to June 1st are now 30-18. And that's pretty impressive considering the way that they, started out this season.
Yeah, it really is pretty impressive. We do have one more piece of video from post game. Torrey was asked an interesting question about the impact of the World Series last year and how in the those first 2 months where the D-backs were really kind of struggling and trying to just make do with the guys that they did have healthy. It sounds like the World Series last year and walking through that had a pretty big impact on letting the D-backs stay even keeled and kind of set themselves up for the run that they've been on lately. Here's what Torrey had to say about that.
You get to a certain point in this you're shaped by experiences in this game. And when you do something that we did last year, you remember the taste of it. You remember what it took. You remember the sacrifice and you remember the commitment. And you know that that's around the corner if you can link up and do things the way that you want to do them. And you can do them. And a very strong brotherhood was formed last year inside of that clubhouse. Coaches included. Coaches, and we remember that, and we know what it's going to take to get back there. So I think it's motivating everybody every single day, even when we're not playing well, to say, hey, look, today could be our day where we get this thing moving in the right direction. It's a very strong feeling when you get there and you experience things that we experience, and it's a very young team, so you're always hoping that they remember it. They remember it. I listen and pay attention. I hear what they're saying. They're hungry. They're very hungry.
Shout out to Brian Hansen. He said, my first live. Welcome in.
Hey.
Welcome to the asylum. Watch out for some of these maniacs. Piece of Yoshi. He's still not to be trusted. I'll warn you of that right now. But it's a great group of people. We thank you all for being here. And yeah, I mean, this Diamondbacks team has, experience now, and they've learned some things. And again, like that's one way that was always impressive that Torey has managed this team his entire time here, right? Going back to the jokes about him always changing his lineups. Even when this team was very bad, Torey was still managing it like they were somehow going to make the playoffs, right? Like he was managing it in a way like he needed these guys to be fresh throughout the season, because when they got to the end, they were going to need to, make this push. And like, again, it's very easy for Torey to lean too heavily on certain members, for instance, of his bullpen this season, and completely wear those guys down. And we've seen that happen. We saw that happen last year, where certain members of the bullpen were just relied on too much, and you kind of saw them eventually just have too many innings put on them and become a little bit unreliable, right? But now with the addition of AJ Puk, with the way that Justin Martinez is throwing the ball, with just the number of weapons that Torey has, not only for the starting lineup, but for that bullpen specifically, this team, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to say this team is not a contending team, right? Like this is a team that's built for the playoffs. And of course, this is all being said without Merrill Kelly and Eduardo Rodriguez. If they can come back and be as good as Mike Hazen, of all people, is making them sound while they're throwing out at Salt River Fields, then, I mean, this team will be, will hopefully be there contending for a playoff spot and contending for a World Series again.
I mean, you're getting to the point now where it feels like the Diamondbacks don't really have any clear weaknesses, right? I mean, the starting rotation, I guess you could still kind of view as a weakness right now until you do get Merrill Kelly and Eduardo Rodriguez back. Obviously, Yolver Diaz, a little bit of a question mark after his last outing. Ryan Nelson's been great lately, but his ERA is still a little bit on the higher end. So there's still some questions there. But the bullpen, I mean, with AJ Puk, like this, as we said the other day when they made that trade, this is one of the better bullpens in all of baseball, and perhaps the best bullpen the Diamondbacks have ever had, which is not saying much considering their history in that regard. But it is still a really, really good unit. There's a variety of weapons. There's a variety of different attacks and arm slots and, pitch types and velos and all those things. They have a really, really good unit back there. The offense has been well above average, really, for pretty much the entire season. I think it maybe goes a little under the radar. But the Diamondbacks, don't have it in front of me, but last I checked, they'd scored the third most runs in baseball. They're probably still somewhere in that range, especially after, scoring 9 runs in this game against the Pirates. And then, of course, the defense has been a strength of this team and this franchise for quite a while. So you can imagine a scenario where Erod and Merrill Kelly get back, and it's like, wow, this team, maybe their record doesn't show it right now, but this team could be among the most talented rosters in all of baseball if and when that happens.
Jacob J in the chat, Jesse says, thoughts on Tommy Troy and Hansel Luis sitting out today? Are we on trade watch?
Yeah, I did see this. I absolutely, I mean, it's one of my favorite things about this time of year is people just go utterly berserk over like a top prospect sitting out, or really people are never more dialed into minor league lineups than this time of year. But yeah, I'm inclined to not really read anything into it until until we get something a little bit more concrete. I mean, not to say it's impossible. It did, as we discussed the other day, it would be an odd time to trade someone like Tommy Troy. I believe he has a 560 OPS, something like that, in High Hillsboro. He's been hurt for a good portion of the season. just came back somewhat recently and has had mixed results. So it'd be a bit of a strange time to trade him. I guess that doesn't mean it's impossible. Hansel Luis is someone I could certainly see teams being interested in. We've seen him show up on top 100 prospects lists, not most of them, but I think Keith Law had him on his top 100 list. He's a guy that some evaluators really like. So not impossible that, maybe this does mean something, but I'm not inclined to read too much into it at this point.
Mike Dreckman in our chat, by the way, the legend, says, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, boys. We're definitely looking good, but also have some work to do. And that's definitely the truth. This team is not a contending team if they don't get at least one of Merrill Kelly and Eduardo Rodriguez back and have
you need them to be effective.
You need them to
look. You need them to look something like what they did last year. There is also, we have
Jordan
to
Montgomery.
Acknowledge.
Jordan Montgomery also has to continue.
We've seen it a lot with other pitchers around the league this year where guys miss significant time and they come back and, maybe they do find their way eventually. Like Frember Valdez is someone who comes to mind there, where his numbers now with the Astros look pretty good. But when he first came back, I want to say it was an elbow injury that he had. He had an ERA over 5 in his first 6 starts or so, if I'm remembering correctly. So, and they're not going to have much runway, right? I mean, if those guys come back in mid-August, which feels like the best case scenario, that only gives you about 6 weeks before the end of the season to really dial it in and find your rhythm. So there are still some pretty big questions with those guys if and when they get back.
Thank you to Piece of Yoshi for the super chat. Piece of Yoshi says, Jesse, can we discuss you saying the Mets were ailed by injuries 12 hours before Senga's was announced and 12 hours after Daniel Nunez's was? You might have cursed them, and if you did, great job. But if we find out the Grimace tore his ACL, then I'll really feel like you're maybe a witch. I don't know.
That's really, that's really when the sky would be falling. He's the most important member.
Jesse, they were pointing out my wonderful Hall of Fame shirt, which the Diamondbacks were kind enough to share with us tonight. I just wanted to get your thoughts before we get out of here on seeing Randy Johnson and Luis Gonzalez inducted as the first members of the Diamondbacks Hall of Fame. And also, what are your thoughts whenever you see the numbers from Randy Johnson and Luis Gonzalez during their time with this team? Because they did a great job tonight of putting that together on a video that they played on the scoreboard. I just couldn't really wrap my mind around hearing some of those stats and thinking about if those guys played in today's baseball, in today's Major League Baseball, especially Randy Johnson, because the number of Cy Youngs, the excellence that he was, how good he was for as long as he was for this franchise, especially considering his age at the time, is just kind of mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I mean, he's in the discussion, right, for the best left-handed pitcher of all time. I mean, that's how good Randy Johnson was during his career, and he was as good as ever during his time with the Diamondbacks, right? There's a reason he wore a D-backs cap into the Hall of Fame. So, yeah, it's hard to say enough about those guys. I mean, RJ in particular, as a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame, not just the Diamondbacks Hall of Fame, certainly Gonzo deserves that honor as well.
For sure.
Honestly, Derek, more than anything, days like this make me angry because I was not old enough to really remember Randy Johnson in his prime. I have some vague memories of Randy Johnson in around 2007, where he came back to the Diamondbacks and was actually still pretty effective, but not nearly the pitcher that he was earlier in his career when, he rattled off 4 straight Cy Youngs with the D-backs. So I am just jealous and angry that, many of you probably have memories of him pitching, and I really don't.
Let me impart upon you what watching Randy Johnson pitch for the Arizona Diamondbacks was a lot. We lost 2-1 tonight. That's what we got a lot of, Jesse. 2-1. Randy Johnson shoved. He went out there and struck out 12, gave up 1 earned run in 7 2/3 innings. Bullpen gave up another 1. Offense did nothing, and we lost. That's what watching Randy Johnson pitch was a lot of times.
I mean, it was at times, right?
Yeah,
but
no.
He was also the ace of a staff of a pretty darn good baseball team for a few years.
This team was incredible, and it's again, even Luis Gonzalez's numbers are hard to it's just hard to remember all the stuff that these guys did. And I think, you know, if your first venture into baseball as a Arizona sports fan was this team, you got spoiled entirely too early, way before you deserved it, because these guys came to the Valley when this team was just in its infancy, and they just changed it. And like your expectations, the I guess, you know, like Tori talks about the standard, right? The standard was set entirely too early for this franchise. It was hard for any pitcher to come in the shadow of what Randy Johnson did and seem like they were anything, you know. And I mean, then it wasn't just Randy Johnson. You had Kurt Schilling here too, right? You had that incredible starting lineup: Craig Counsell, Tony Womack, Luis Gonzalez, Steve Finley, Matt Williams, like just a bunch of killers, right? Like just a bunch of guys that were excellent in their own teams and all over the Major League Baseball, and yet they all kind of came here and quickly changed, you know, this franchise forever, right? So, like again, though, it's like I don't know, like thinking about that year, thinking about that time is just like thinking about like Christmas or something, where it's like it's this thing that exists, and you're like, yeah, everybody knows about the Diamondbacks 2001 World Series year, right? Like, yeah, like it's a thing. And when we were, you know, other places and talked to people about this team, that's the thing everybody brought up to us. Those are the players that people remember from this team. So like, it just goes to show how special, you know, Randy Johnson choosing to come to Arizona and be a part of this franchise was, you know. And Luis Gonzalez obviously was, you know, part of a trade, but like still the impact these guys had on, you know, our sports culture here in the Valley is permanent, and it's forever. It's great to see them honored the way that they were honored tonight. And I really do love their little cartoon faces on this shirt.
I did think it was funny yesterday. We talked with Torey Lovello about this, and he said that he actually faced Randy Johnson in college, something that did not occurred to me that could have been possible. And I asked him about it, and he said that you like there were glimpses of kind of what RJ eventually became, but he said that he was clearly working through his release point at the time, like couldn't really find it. It was pretty inconsistent. Sounds like RJ was a little all over the place at that time. And even once he was in the majors, like you look at his early career stats, I mean, there's some five walks per nine, 6 walks per nine, you know, like in that range. And early in his career, he really was a little all over the place for a while. But then, yeah, I mean, his last 2 months with, he was traded from the Mariners to the Astros and was absolutely outstanding. And then the Diamondbacks that offseason somehow miraculously pulled him to sign with a franchise that had completed one season and was terrible in that one season. So, you know, part of the miracle of Randy Johnson is very much the fact that he was willing to sign in the first place. And, you know, that wound up paying off for Diamondbacks fans and will continue to for a long time.
All hail Jerry Colangelo. That's all I have to say. Thank God for that man. But thank God for all of you. We thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate you stopping by tonight. Jesse and I are getting a much deserved day off tomorrow, but it's just one day off, and then we'll be back again on Monday. So get your mailbag Monday questions prepped, because it's been far too long since we've done one of those. And of course, we have more fun stuff to bring you, including on Tuesday, we're going to bring you 2 shows, a trade deadline episode, which now might not be as spicy as we thought it was going to be, considering the Diamondbacks got their shopping done early. And then we'll bring you another post-game show for Tuesday's game. No show on Wednesday because that is pool party day. So make sure if you are out there, you go join us. But of course, we can't get out of here without reminding everybody, Jesse, that I lie, you lie, Jacob never lies. The man, he's a sweet baby angel. But we also know that the numbers, they never lie. Jesse, what do you have for us for tonight's number that doesn't lie?
Yeah, real quick. I know some people in the chat are talking about AJ Puk, and I did want to touch on him real quick. Today's number is 97.3, Derek, and 97.3 represents the hardest fastball that AJ Puk threw in his first outing as a member of the Diamondbacks. And I did a little research on this, Derek, and I found that AJ Puk's 97.3 mile an hour fastball was the hardest pitch thrown by a Diamondbacks left-handed pitcher since September 13th of 2018. And that was by Jake Diekman. Jake Diekman and Robbie Ray,
Jake
both
Diekman.
kind of around the same range. Yeah, Jake Diekman threw a 97.3 mile per hour fastball, exactly the same velocity back in September of 2018. So it has been about 6 years, almost 6 full years since the Diamondbacks have had a lefty who can throw this hard. And AJ Puk actually averages, his average fastball is higher than Jake Diekman's was at the time. So it's just a different look, right? I mean, it's just something the D-backs really haven't had basically ever. I mean, a lefty who throws like this. I guess we were just talking about Randy Johnson. So, they have had another pretty darn good lefty a while back. Robbie Ray certainly threw hard as well. But having a weapon like this out of the bullpen is really something that the D-backs have basically never had. And he did walk a batter in this game, but it was still a fairly quick and easy inning. Able to get out of there without allowing a run or a hit. So AJ Puk's first outing with the D-backs was a success.
We love him already. And of course, it's going to be amazing what he does. Again, when you talk about just giving that different look, right? Like coming in the 7th inning or maybe even in the 8th inning and seeing him throw, lefty, and then having Paul Sewald come out and throw righty. Like this is something that is going to just cause batters some problems. This bullpen is going to be a problem for opposing teams, and it's going to be fun to watch. But of course, we thank you guys again for joining us tonight. We thank you guys so much for being snake aficionados. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, Jacob is the 4th best Jacob Franklin in existence. He is at Jacob_Franklin 4. But we're still Damon's dogs. Bark, bark. No offense, Jacob. Okay. Our show is at PHNX_D-backs. But of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys again so much for your time. We will see you back here on Monday. Have yourself a wonderful Saturday. We will see you then. But until then, behave yourselves. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when your baseball team has no weaknesses.
We all silly like the mayor.